welcome back, folks. Sorry about that. We had some connection issues, but I wanted to give each guest their opportunity here for a nice, clean episode. So we are back and rolling now, but I wanted to start again and say, hey, welcome back to Chatting It Up with CJ. I am your host, CJ Lester, and we have got a great conversation. I think everybody in Rockdale County, every parent and teacher, and every taxpayer needs to hear. And my guest tonight is Jesus Lopez, if I'm pronouncing that right, and a lifetime a resident of Rockdale County and a 2025 graduate of Rockdale Magnet School, who is now running for the Post 1 Board of Education post. And he is young and he got something to say. So let me go ahead and welcome Mr. Lopez back into the conversation here. How are you doing, Mr. Lopez?
Doing good, Mr. Lester. Glad to be here, and glad we got some better connection this time around.
Yes, me too. All right. I wanted it to be smooth for you so your show will go great for you. All right. So let's get started back. So I'm gonna ask you, let's see where I'm at. Thanks for being here tonight. And so before we dive into the race, I want you to give you a chance for the people to get to know you a little bit and what you want them to know about Rockdale County and who Jose, no, I'm saying it wrong. Jesus Lopez, in your own words.
Absolutely. My name is Jesus Lopez. I'm 19 years of age and a recent graduate of the Rockdale Magnet School for Science and Technology. And though, you've already said that, but beyond that, that's the synopsis of who I am on pen and paper. But the person I am, I'm a person I believe of resilience. All throughout my educational journey within Rockdale County Public Schools, I've had to fight harder than the next person because it wasn't easy for me, to be honest, Mr. Lister. And the only reason why I'm here with you tonight, only reason why I'm running, is because of my late mom. God rest her soul. My mom passed away in December, but she was my fiercest advocate. The only reason why I graduated from the magnet school, or possibly even at all, she pushed when others would say no. When the system tried to say he cannot do this, he should be put in a different class, or anything that we've encountered over from pre-K to the 12th grade, she pushed back on it and fought for me to have the chance to prove myself. Once I got it, I took it and I ran with it. And then I graduated summa cum laude from the magnet school. And and TLDR, I'm running because no parent should have to fight that hard for the bare minimum. And I'm running to be a voice for the voiceless because I keep thinking, what if I did not have my mom? Or what if she never reached the breaking point to start fighting the good fight as she did?
Right.
And I think about all the other children right now, all across this county, who are in similar shoes as mine, who are being underestimated, saying they cannot do something simply the administrators say that and they take that as the gospel, or the parents don't know how to fight. I'm running to be that someone that can stand up for them and be their voice on the board.
It's crazy because I had a similar situation growing up, and I did go to Rockdale County schools a little bit. I went all my high school years through Rockdale school systems, and I had an IEP too, had a speech impediment and all that. So I can, my mom fight for me too. So I learned her mom, so I don't think we'll all be here. But anyway, let's get into another question here, and we'll get back to that question here in a minute. But so you graduated from Rockdale Magnet, just like you said, top of your class, 10%. That's a goal and achievement to be proud of. And now you're running for the Post 1 Board of Education. A lot of people are going to want to hear what you think, and a lot of people are going to want to hear or say that you're young. So, what do you say to voters who question whether you have enough experience and for this role in your life at this time?
No problem. Well, as you said, I am young, I'm 19 years of age, and if elected, I would be one of the youngest individuals elected to a board of education, not just in Rockdale County, but in the state of Georgia. But
mm,
I truly believe that my age is my strength in this race because I have firsthand experience of knowing what our schools are like right now. I know what it's like to be a student, and I know what our teachers, our parents, and and our students are facing right now. Because I've seen the system from both sides. I know what it's like to be the student who receives all the
mm.
accolades, but I also know what it's like to be brushed off before you even get started. And uh,
Or go
I'm sorry,
ahead. Sorry,
I thought we glitched for a second.
a little bit. I'm sorry about that. Go ahead. Mhm.
All good.
Yeah.
And through my mom, I saw what it's like for a parent to have to constantly fight.
Hmm.
Sometimes for just the bare minimum for their child to get a chance. And I know from talking to our amazing teachers that many of them feel unsupported and underappreciated right now.
Mm.
And any of that should never be the norm. And as far as my life experience goes, I may be young, but I have experienced challenges, loss, and struggle like so many other people. And
Mhm.
those experiences have shaped me into the young man I am today. They taught me resilience, empathy, and a sense of responsibility to stand up when something is not working. And that's exactly what I'm doing through this campaign.
And I want to ask about something that I think that's really at the heart of this campaign and why you're running. You talked publicly about growing up and your speech impediment. I have one as well, and having an IEP. And believe it or not, I had an IEP growing up as well. And for those who don't know what an IEP is, it's an individualized education program. And you talked about your late mother and the role she played in your life. Can you just take us back to that? What was the experience like for you as a kid, and what did you have to watch your mother have to do to make sure you got what you needed?
Absolutely. Because she did. She fought relentlessly, and that's the only reason why I'm here today. You know, God rest her soul, my mom, and once I got old enough, me, the two of us, had to learn this system, fight
Mm,
battles, and jump through hoops just to get sometimes the bare minimum, Mr. Lester. And
mm-hmm.
what always stuck with me was that she wasn't asking for anything extraordinary. She was
Right.
asking for the bare minimum, for something that every child should have. Sometimes what they're legally entitled to because of a federal document, like the
Mm-hmm.
IEP or Section 504.
Mm,
Or sometimes it's to make sure a child is not being bullied, or
mm-hmm.
anything that anything there are. We could talk all night about
Oh yeah.
everything we've went through, Mr. Lester, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sure you have a
Oh
fair
yeah.
share of stories too.
Mm-hmm.
But but even that required a fight, just the bare
Mm-hmm.
minimum, and she had to learn the rules herself, push back against decisions made without her knowledge, and navigate a system that, too often, it feels like it was designed to wear parents down until they give up.
Mm,
Watching that process shaped me into how I view this role on the board. The board should be making it easier for families to be heard, not harder.
right.
While the Board of Education doesn't handle the day to day operations, they hire the superintendent. They set the policies and they approve the contracts that ultimately shape how the system works for families. No parent should feel like they're fighting the system alone just to help their child succeed. My mom had to fight that battle, and I'm running to ensure that other families don't have to jump through those same barriers, jump through those same hoops, and be a voice that understands that struggle.
Mm. And that's a powerful story in itself. And I think what strikes me about it that you're not describing some rare situation, because there is a lot of families in Rockdale County that are still going through exactly what we fought through and are fighting now. And when did you realize that running for the board was the right response, rather than say advocating in other ways or waiting till you were older?
Absolutely. For a long time, I believed the best way I could make a difference was simply by staying engaged, paying attention to what the board was doing, and advocating for myself and others, both while I was in school and even after I graduated. But after my mom passed, I spent a lot of time reflecting on everything she fought for, and one thought kept coming back to me. What if I hadn't had her?
Hmm.
And what about all the children right now who don't have someone like her fighting for them? After a lot of thinking and praying, I realized that running for this seat was my way of continuing her legacy and honoring the values she instilled in me. And if serving on the board means I can help improve the system, even if it's just enough so that one mom doesn't have to jump through all the hoops mine did, then I believe it's worth stepping up and trying to make that difference.
Hmm. That's really good, and I think that's the board should make it easy for people to go to school, really, and shouldn't be no hoops to go through. And if they do have a problem, they should be able to come to the board and they solve those problems. Don't take a
That,
month or a week, or it should take a less time to get those issues uh, taken care of.
yep,
So let's get into the issues, shall we? And let's talk about what actually is happening in Rockdale County schools right now,
by all means.
because some of the numbers you have put out there and are hard to ignore. You said that 57% of our fourth graders in Rockdale County cannot read at grade level. Walk me through that, and what does the numbers mean, and what do you think is causing it?
Absolutely. Now, right now, like I said, we have 57% of our fourth graders not reading at grade level, and the results are just as bad throughout.
Hmm.
Not just it's not just one grade in particular. That and me and you could talk about all these statistics all night. And
Mm-hmm.
these are not but it's also important to remember that these are not just statistics. These
Right.
are our children. And
Exactly.
they are and if they are doing so bad in the current grade and in these current scores, then if they proceed to the next grade, they're only going to fall further behind. And when more than half of our fourth graders and these other scores, when they are this bad, that's something the community deserves a clear and serious conversation about.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the problem, in my view, is how we prioritize our resources. Now, I'll go ahead and apologize now, Mr. Lester, but
Mm-hmm.
throughout the night, I'll be repeating a lot of information
Sure. Sure.
because they're interconnected parts of the same problem.
Right.
Our district is top heavy, with numerous
Mm-hmm.
high paying positions that don't make an impact on students or parents of the and these positions are at the county office.
Mm-hmm.
We also sign contracts with programs and apps that don't make a meaningful impact. And actually, teachers hate using them, but they have to use them anyway simply because the county pays for it. I
Right.
would have I would have a list of cuts ready for the 27-28 budget and plans to redirect that money back into the classroom so we can begin to move those scores up from making our teachers feel supported and valued to better resources for academic support. And another issue we cannot ignore is discipline. Classroom
Mm-hmm.
disruption has a real impact on learning, and I'm speaking from experience. That and many teachers say they don't feel supported by their administrators when
Mm.
discipline problems arise. Some schools handle discipline through the counselor. Other principals tell their teachers to never send misbehaving kids to the front office.
Yeah.
Teachers should be able to focus on teaching and constantly managing disruptions. That's not putting all their focus on teaching. And when they can't focus all on teaching, everyone suffers, especially
Mm-hmm.
the children, the students who come into school every day ready to learn, but the system tells them to just deal with their misbehaving peers. And ultimately, improving reading scores won't come from just one policy. It will come from making sure our priorities are aligned, strong literacy intervention, supporting our teachers, disciplined classrooms, and resources focused where they matter the most, helping students learn.
All right. And here's what makes the numbers even harder to sit with. The district is operating on a $231 million budget. So this isn't a resource problem in terms of dollars coming in. Where do you think the money is going?
The money is going to a lot of it, at least. We have to be careful with the language because
All right.
the district will try to correct us. But I say that most of that money, or a large portion of it, is going to the county office, where
Mm,
we have multiple administrators with overlapping titles.
mm,
Those, for example, Assistant Superintendent of Learning Support, Chief Chief Learning Support Officer, Director of
mm.
Learning Support.
Well, all the
They
same thing.
Right, they have learning support in the same, all in their titles.
Mm-hmm.
So if the titles are similar, what is the job description? Is the job
It's
description
the
similar?
same.
And then
All right.
how much are we paying those people?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer to that last question is six figures. At
Mm.
at the minimum. At the minimum, starting in the neighborhood of 100,000.
Wow.
And that's who I refer to when I say to all that. We have these overlapping positions with the same job description, these similar
Mm-hmm.
titles, and sometimes you have positions made simply for the office holder.
All right.
Said, oh, we want to keep this person on in the we want to keep them in the county. Let's make them a title at county office, and they'll
Mm-hmm.
stay.
And funny thing is, I'm seeing that in the county too. So that's like a reoccurring thing. So,
Right.
with my investigative work, I'm going to have to look into that and see what's going on.
That would be amazing if you could do that at the school level,
Yeah.
county level
Mm-hmm.
too, but the school level, I would love to see that on it
Yeah.
actually being reported on, because
Mm-hmm.
you don't see other counties, like,
Mm-mm.
especially of our similar population, or our neighbors like Newton or Walton. You don't see them having a chief academic officer.
Mm-mm.
You don't see them having a lot of these offices, a lot of these positions you can find on the directory.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those counties I mentioned, they don't have that.
Yeah.
And these individuals are earning these large salaries, you know, at these six figures, and illustrious benefits, from
Hmm.
secretaries to
Mm-hmm.
cars. At the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
time, at the same time, and they have very little direct interaction with the people our school system is supposed to serve: students, teachers, and parents.
Hmm.
We do not have the enrollment nor the test scores to justify most of these positions, and that funding can very well be better spent where the taxpayers expect their money to go: the classroom.
All right.
And
And
oh, I'm sorry.
go, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just hold on to that thought. And how
Huh.
because how we decide what is unnecessary and what is essential should come down to a careful review process, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. And this is the process I'll go through if elected. The board should ask a few key questions. Forget the office holder. Does this role directly support student learning? Does it
Mm.
provide meaningful support to teaching and school leaders? And are the responsibilities clearly distinct from other positions? For most of these, I firmly believe the answer is no.
Mm. And you was talking about the teachers, and I think most of the pay, if we have a $231 million budget, should go back to the teachers. They're the ones struggling day in and day out. And you pointed out that Rockdale ranks in 49th in the state for teacher pay. And how many states do we have? 50? Yeah. So that's near the bottom. And at the same time, you noted that the district employees have a 5 assistant superintendents, like we just talked about, more than Gwinnett, which is one of the largest school systems in the entire county.
That's correct.
How, or in the country, I'm sorry. Um, how does that happen? And what should we do, or what should be done about that?
All right. So is this more so about the teacher pay or there's
The
other
t-
superintendents?
uh, is a 2 point question, but those so the teacher pay and the employees and the 5. Well, you kind of answered the 5 assistants because we just talked about it. Answer the teacher pay.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll sort of answer both of them directly.
Piggyback, yeah.
Because I do want to expand on the assistant superintendents as well, in
Mm-hmm.
particular. But first, with teacher pay, unfortunately, we have to be honest with the public about the financial reality. Large-scale teacher salary increases may not immediately be available given the current state of the economy and the structure of our own budget. Right now, over 80% of that budget already goes towards salaries. That said, I do believe there are ways we can begin improving compensation. I'll say again, we can make cuts to county office and redirect those funds for teacher salary to smaller teacher salary raises, to bonuses, and improved benefits instead.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of paying an individual six figures to do little. But supporting teachers isn't only about salary, it's also making sure they feel respected and supported in their schools.
Mm-hmm.
That means leadership that listens to teachers, principals who work with them as partners, and making sure discipline issues are handled so teachers can focus on teaching. And because if we want to retain great educators, they need to know that the district values their work both financially and professionally. And
Mm-hmm.
financially, that's going to be a long term goal of mine, but professionally is the immediate goal.
All right. And were you wanting to add anything else about the administrators? Yeah. Let's see.
Ye-
Or the superintendents? Are you good on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, sir. No.
Oh, you're not done yet. Okay, go.
uh,
You're on a roll. Let's
I'm a
go.
I'm a rep the county a new one on this one, CJ.
Go ahead.
So
Go ahead. I love
I'll
it.
I'll be there, and I'll be direct with you, Mr. Lester.
Mm-hmm.
I know from personal experience what these assistant superintendents actually do, not
Mm-hmm.
just on paper, not based on title, but in practice. Because
Mm-hmm.
me and my mom saw it firsthand.
All right.
When she would call the county office with a concern, she was never able to speak to an assistant superintendent, even if she called the assistant superintendent's office.
Mm-hmm.
She would speak to a secretary who would type up her concern and route it to two places: legal and back to the very school where the problem started. And how do we know this? Because within 5 minutes of my mom calling the county office, the director of the magnet school would call every single time.
Interesting.
That's not that's not leadership. That's a
Yeah.
paper trail designed to protect the district, not the
Hmm.
child. What I said about other positions at the county office applies here too, maybe even more so. They are paid to deal with parents as little as possible. How many times do you see these individuals visit a school not just for a PR stunt, and make themselves accessible.
Right.
And this may sound drastic, and I will get a lot of hate from this from the establishment, but I would support reducing the amount of assistant superintendents we have down to one, like most districts our size.
Hmm.
One. The savings from those salaries and benefits should go directly to classrooms and teachers, where they were always supposed to be.
Yeah, and that was leading to my next question, I think. But let me go ahead and ask it and see if you got any other extra input for it. I want to press you on something because it's where it's getting real. When you talk about cutting county office positions and redirecting that money, were you talking about the people? Were you talking about people's jobs? So how do you make that call? How do you decide what's necessary and what isn't?
I think I sort of answered that
You did.
earlier when we talked
Oh.
just about the county officials. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
would go through a thorough review process and ask these tough questions on looking at the job title, not the person, the job
Mm-hmm.
title. Does do other counties our size have this job title or a similar or similarly titled position? You know, same job, maybe a different title. Do other
Right.
counties have it? Do does this job do the duties of this job sound too similar to to the duties of another job?
Mm-hmm.
I would ask those questions and and do a thorough review by myself, and I would have that I would have that ready in time for the 27-28 budget because the county's currently working on the 26-27 budget,
Mm-hmm.
and God willing, if I win, I would not take office until January of next year. So I would still, so my first budget would be the 27-28 budget. But so I would ask those questions, and if it is that way with with many of these, then I say, okay, I'm sorry, but chief academic officer, just as an example, chief
Mm-hmm.
academic officer, all right, you're gone.
All right.
Sorry,
I mean,
sorry.
really,
Thank you. Next.
really, I wouldn't feel bad because I mean, it's all those are like the same position. That's we only really need one.
Right, because
So.
in because any teacher that's been teaching here at least 20 years will tell you when they first started teaching here, the 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 ladder of
Mhm.
hierarchy used to be clear and defined. It would go them, their principal, the assistant superintendent, if there is one at the time, then the
Mhm.
superintendent.
Mm.
Now we have a family tree worth of hierarchy.
Mm.
And so
Mhm.
there is no clear hierarchy.
All right.
And on that note, I'll say because when former superintendent Dr. Terry Oates resigned,
Mm.
he didn't retire. He resigned.
Mm.
That's gonna catch me heat. That's gonna also catch me heat too, Mr. CJ.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I, but resignation is something that's with immediate effect.
Right.
Retirement is saying, hey, this is my last year.
Mhm.
Resignation is immediate, and his was
Mhm.
immediate. So
Yeah.
that's what I call it when my conversation with parents and folks. So we'll use that same language here. But when Terry Else resigned, he he normal counties when something happens to the superintendent, the
Mhm.
the assistant superintendent, because there's only one, the assistant
Yeah.
superintendent becomes superintendent.
Mm.
Sort of like the presidency. When
Mhm.
something happens to the president, the vice president becomes president. Similarly that happens on the superintendent level.
Right.
Not with Rockdale, because we had at the time three. Even still, that was a lot. At the time, we had three. So because we had three, there was still no clear hierarchy. So then the board appoints the chief academic officer at the time, another position. What do they do? I'd love to find out.
Right.
But they appoint the holder of that office, to be acting superintendent before eventually signing her onto a contract.
Mm. Okay. And you have talk about discipline. Was there anything you want to add more to that? That was my next question. But
Mm,
did you cover
Not
everything you needed to do on discipline?
pretty much, yeah. And I'll just sort of
Okay.
reiterate, because I say that coming from personal experience and
Mm-hmm.
and talking to teachers right now, because I haven't been inside the elementary school in almost 10
Yeah.
years, but
Right. Mm.
by talking to current elementary teachers and current middle teachers, I know what it's like there right now.
And
So
I
so
and I've been hearing the middle schools are like really bad for some reason.
middle
So
school
I
is
don't.
tough. I'm sorry, but middle
Go
school is
ahead.
tough on any middle
Mm-hmm.
school is tough on anyone. I mean, but personally, my sixth grade year was rough.
Mm-hmm.
Seventh grade was a little better. Then COVID happened,
Yeah.
and so
Oh, okay. Mm,
I was virtual my entire eighth grade year.
mm,
But in that sixth grade year and part of seventh year alone, I saw some interesting things,
mhm.
and sometimes, and this applies to middle school and elementary school, through a discussion I had with a teacher recently.
Mhm.
Sometimes the schools reward misbehaving children for doing the bare minimum.
Hmm.
You come to school, you do your work, you don't misbehave. If you do that for most classes, you'll get a pizza party at the end of the week.
Wow.
Or they have a point system in elementary
Mhm.
schools, and teachers are directed to give students points for just coming to school,
Hmm.
which those
Well,
points can be redeemed for prizes.
of course. Yeah. Everybody's a winner, right?
Right.
All right. Now, if elected, now here's something I want to ask the candidates because I think it's the most important question. A single board member has limited power by themselves. You can't just walk in there and start cutting positions and rewriting policy. You need votes. You need relationships. So, how do you actually plan to move your agenda forward once you are in that room?
Absolutely. And unfortunate that I already have relationships with a few members of the board. And if elected, I would build on those and work with every member to find common ground and move this district forward. I'll be
Hmm.
respectful, I'll be collaborative, and I'll come prepared. But I also won't forget why the people of Rockdale County voted for me or abandoned the principles I ran on. Compromise is a part of governance, but not at the expense of the children and families who trusted me with their seat. Collaboration doesn't mean surrender, and the families who voted for me deserve a representative who can work with others and still hold the line on what matters most.
All right. And what? So, if you do get elected, what's the first thing you want to do on day one if you win the seat?
Sure. So on day one, on if elected on day one of taking office, before ever set foot in the boardroom that evening to be inaugurated, I would go back to the schools that shaped me, every school I attended in Rockdale County, and just listen. Not as a politician doing a photo op, but as someone who walked those same hallways, sat in those same classrooms, and knows firsthand what it feels like when the system works and when it doesn't. And I and at that time I would like to hear from every teacher and staff member and see how they are feeling, what I could do for them and what they need, so what I could do as a person and as a board member, I bring their voices into the boardroom.
Hmm. And so, at this time, I want to give you the floor for a moment. If there's a Rockdale County parent, teacher, or student watching this right now or tonight who is on the fence about whether your candidacy is serious, what do you want them to know?
I am very serious. I qualified on Monday morning and pay the fee to qualify and done the appropriate paperwork, and I am in this to win this. I because I know what it's like, and I I just I'm I'm sorry for just being a little startled and shook up, but
No,
it
you're fine.
you know but yeah, I'm serious because I know what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm running because my heart tells me I can't stay silent. I can't stay
Mm-hmm.
still. Well, I know this is going on. I've been a complainer, Mr. Lester. Let me say
Yeah.
that. Because I know, even when I was still in school, I would say, "Oh, the board done this," or "This is like that." And teachers and some of my peers would say, "Why do you care? You're about to graduate." And
Mm-hmm.
then once I graduated, and then I complained, "Why do you
Mm-hmm.
care? You graduated. That's
Right.
not your problem no more."
Mm-hmm.
And I think to myself, that's the same type of mentality that has allowed the system to continue the way it has. And that's why my story is my story. And that's why it risks becoming more and more common.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm running just to change, just to say no, enough is enough. We need change, not more of the same, and to give people a choice. As
Right.
we are in a democracy, elections are not coronations. They they are simply not just something you have to do simply because the Constitution said so, and then you face no opposition, you get another 4 years automatic. That's not how things work.
Mm-hmm.
It's happened a lot of times in the county for county elections and for the board elections as well. But I'm not sure if you know fully, but this year we have a lot of people who are running for various
Mm-hmm.
seats that,
Right.
like the board, sometimes go uncontested. And, and,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm glad and I'm honored to be part of this growing movement to where we as the people know when enough is enough and when we engage in the democratic process. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a thing that shouldn't be taken lightly.
Yes, and I do too. And I'm glad to see actually there's a lot more young people, maybe not in Rockdale County, but there's a lot more young people running because I know a lot of people over the state of Georgia. So um, there's a lot more young people running. I should say that. And where can people follow you, keep up to date with you, and find out more about your campaign and connect to you directly, and contribute if they want to.
Absolutely. I have a few campaign socials. I have a campaign Instagram, and my handle there is at Vote Jesus Lopez. That's VOTEJESUS, just like Jesus, LOPEZ. Yeah, that's Instagram. My Facebook is Jesus Lopez for Rockdale County Board of Education. And then my website is Vote Jesus Lopez. Same one word again. Vote Jesus Lopez at my dot canva canva dot site. And there I have ways you can donate as well. I have Cash App, Zelle, and And if anyone wants to, I can be reached anytime through my phone number 678-9791-3066. I'm more than happy to talk because when you make yourself accessible, CJ, that also
Hmm.
helps create a sense of accountability.
Oh yeah.
If I firmly believe if you stop doing one, then you
Hmm.
stop doing the other.
Right.
And you see that a lot, you know, across the board. You see that a lot. And
Hmm.
so I say that's why my phone number is out there. there, and I'm happy to talk anytime to anyone. Even if I'm just in Walmart, or if you
Right.
see me, you have a question, feel free to come on up.
Mm-hmm.
Because the moment I feel, if the moment you stop being accessible, you stop being accountable. And the moment that happens, then you're part of the
Mm-hmm.
system you ran against.
Right. I totally agree, and that's why I started this journalism, because I do know a lot of people in politics, and they can be friends, but they still need to be held accountable, and that's why I did that. So, and it's taken off like crazy. I can't believe it. So, people, if they're on here too, I'm putting my plug in. Visit my website, cjlester.com. You'll see his, Mr. Lopez's profile on there as well under Meet the Candidate, and I have another one on there. But if you have another candidate you'd like to see on here, please let me know. Go to my website. There's my email right here on the screen, so email me. But Mr. Lopez is running for Rockdale County Board of Education Post 1. I appreciate you coming on tonight and having a real conversation about Rockdale County what Rockdale County needs more of. And folks, if you found this conversation valuable, share it. These local races matter. The school board really matters. It makes the decision that affects every child, every teacher, and every taxpayer in the county. A big part of your tax bill is from the Rockdale County Board of Education, if people do not know that. It's the number one biggest part of it. So
Yeah,
pay attention. And if there's any last words you'd like to say, Mr. Lopez.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I've said, how people can contact me, and also I think you may have shared this post as well, but I have endorsed Michelle Bernard for the county commissioners post two, and I think she said that you reach out to her as well, and I
Mm-hmm.
know she's eager to come on too, because
Okay.
me and her are we're similar like this. We're free
Okay.
spoken. We're not
Mm-hmm.
part of the establishment, and we're running simply because our heart says we need to see
All right.
change, and if not us, then if not us, who else? And
All
if
right.
not now, when?
Right.
And that's my whole thing with this campaign, because
Mm-hmm.
we cannot afford for another class to fall behind, and we cannot afford to elect and to accept more of the
Mm-hmm.
same, and from the test scores to more experiences like mine, to things we may even see on the news, unfortunately.
All right. And I want to go ahead and say this, like 50 years ago, I don't know how many years ago, but Rockdale used to be number one in
Yes,
education.
it did. Yes, it
So
did.
we need to find, that will probably need to be my investigative loop here, to
I
find
love
out
that.
what happened. Find out what happened from there to now. What are
I
the
I love
mistakes?
that.
Yeah. I think we need to
Because
address. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but yeah, and because see, I know in the 60s, I
Mm-hmm.
saw it from somewhere. I think I seen it on the city website, but in the
Okay.
60s, we were one of the high if we were
Mm-hmm.
one like in the top 5 for teacher pay in the state of Georgia in the
Right.
60s. And we maintained that high pay throughout the 70s and 80s. And my
Mm-hmm.
mom graduated from Rockdale County High School in the late 80s.
Right.
And then my aunt, her children graduated in the early 2000s. So even then
Okay.
it was
Yeah.
showing some cracks,
Yeah.
but
Mm-hmm.
it was, yeah. You too, Mr. Lesser, you
Yeah.
graduated in
Mm-hmm.
'08, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
by then it was showing some cracks, but it was still stable. But
Mm-hmm.
what I'll be very interested in is if you see is what happened around the late 2000s and the early 2010s. I'd be
Okay.
very interested on that,
Okay.
because I believe, forgive me, anyone who's a dates nerd, but I
Mm-hmm.
believe it was Richard Archery became superintendent
Yeah.
around 2010, 2011. I think he
Yeah.
has a lot of blame for what we're seeing now. From the he started growing the bureaucracy on his watch, and then it's only continued.
Interesting. That'll give me some points to look at because you got to start somewhere, and you're like, so where do I start? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So yeah, we got to find out where the loop was because I heard it all my life that Rockdale. That's why we moved to Rockdale because the schools were great. So
and now you have people moving out because the
moving
schools are
out.
bad.
Right. So if the schools are good, people will move in. But still, people are moving in, and the schools are bad. I don't get that, but they must be here for the jobs and don't care about the kids' education, apparently. But I don't know. We have to fix this. Yeah, I think that's what it is. But we need to fix this whole thing. So we do that by the people we elect. So
Yes, sir.
yeah. And so with that, I am CJ Lester. This has been Chatting It Up with CJ, and we'll see you next time. But I'll be looking for people to be on here to be interviewed. So if you know anybody that would like to, again, email me at cj@cjlesterinvestigates.com. Visit my website, take a look around, and let me know what you think. Thank you. God bless, and I'll see you next time. Thank you, Mr. Lopez.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. All right.